PNR Networks is a member of Patreon. Show your love for our shows by joining our ongoing fundraising campaign and get some fantastic perks in return. Check it out and become a Patreon sponsor. You can sign up at patreon.com, patreon.com/PNR Networks. And thanks for your support.
This podcast is a member of the Blueberry Network. Blueberry. No E's. That's Blueberry, BLUBRRY.com. Blueberry.com.
This podcast is a proud member of the Lamb Podcasting Network. Find the network at largeassmovieblogs.com.
It's Kim versus TC in the battle of the lists.
My list is better.
My list is better.
My list is better.
No, it's not. My list is better.
Kim or TC, who has the better list? From Subject Cinema, this is Front Row 5 and 10 with Kim Brown and TC Kirkham.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to another week here of Front Row 5 and 10, brought to you by the folks that bring you Subject Cinema. That would be him and me, the me being Kim Brown.
And the him being TC Kirkham. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you for getting that back in this week.
Sorry.
I want to apologize for no Subject Cinema this weekend. I was out of it all weekend with issues. I have a bad pinched nerve. I've had it for years, and it triggered a migraine. I was not having fun this weekend. Plus all the new snow and shit. You know, it's like crazy. Boy, we're going to have fun this week.
Yep. I think it's going to be
She is like so delved into her notes.
No,
it's
going to be real. It's going to be really interesting because this is an area where you have much more expertise than I do, so this should be fun.
So, here we go. It's a what-if scenario.
Yay!
Peter Capaldi is leaving Doctor Who, as everybody knows. And the BBC have decided that they're going to cast the next Doctor with a non-UK actor. In the good old vein of Henry Cavill playing Superman and Andrew Garfield playing Spider-Man and Tom Holland playing Spider-Man. All these foreigners coming over and playing American heroes. This time they're going to let Americans or somebody else take over the BBC character. And of course, not really. But
for those of you who just had heart attacks, that's not really happening. We're sure
we don't know that it's really happening. We don't know what's going to happen.
We're sure the BBC is probably going to cast an English actor to play the Doctor.
Why?
Because
that's so country-centric. I mean, really.
Because if they don't, there will be riots in the streets.
Well, there should be riots in the streets if we have all these Brits playing all these American heroes or these American-created heroes.
I was going to say, I'm going to bring up the Superman thing again, and you're going to yell at me again.
And I'm going to smack you. Bad Kim, no cookie. So what we've done...
You're just pissed about that because you know I'm right. That's just...
Excuse me. Truth, justice, and the American way are a part of Superman's thing.
Right.
He was raised in Kansas.
Right.
Which means he's an adopted American. Drop it. Honestly, she drives me crazy.
Like no one else.
Yes. Fortunately, thank God, there's only one of her. I couldn't handle more than that. In any case...
You can barely handle me as it is.
That's what I mean. We're going to run down our top 10 non-UK casting choices for the new Doctor. And in doing so, we are creating personas, outfits, the way that the character will perceive themselves, and how they will, I am at least, how they will actually appear as they first regenerate. Mm-hmm. It should be fun. And I hope everybody likes our choices. If you don't like our choices, well, that's okay too. But we'd love to hear from you at front row at PNRNetworks.com. And by all means, if you've got an idea for a list you'd like to hear us tackle, if we use it on the air, we will not only give you credit on the show and on the website, but we'll send you a prize too. I got plenty of, like I said, I got plenty of DVD stuff around here that I could send you guys.
Yep.
So.
And before we get started, a caveat.
Uh-oh.
No, I think this is only fair. Because TC is a much more learned Doctor Who fan than I am.
I would consider myself in the middle of the group. I have not watched the new one at all very much.
No, but you have more.
I've seen most of Christopher Eccleston's, a couple of Tennant's, a couple of Smith's, and no Capaldi. So it's like, okay.
No, I realize that, but you've seen a crap ton of.
Oh yeah, I was a big fan
stuff,
of the original show. Yeah,
and you know a lot more
Sylvester
about the lore and the mythos of the Doctor than I do.
Yeah, a little bit.
So I think that that's only being fair.
I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 25, 30 books over here about Doctor Who.
I think that's only being fair
Okay,
in
fair
saying
enough.
that you're more knowledgeable than I. So
Okay.
forgive me if I come off as a clueless yutz.
You won't!
More than usual.
Stop it! You won't. So, my list, you get to start.
Okay. My number 10...
Oh, by the way, we should mention, it was okay if they picked a UK-associated country that was not part of the general UK. So Australia and Canada were okay. We just were not including England, Wales, Scotland, and Ireland and Northern Ireland.
Right.
They could not be from one of those countries.
Right.
All right, so anyway.
Yeah.
Just wanted to bring that up. Go ahead.
Okay. My number 10 is Michael Angarano.
Seriously?
Yes. Now, each of my doctors I've given...
Okay, that's a goofy one.
Well,
Anyway, no, never mind. You'll see why.
and here we go. Each of my doctors... Now, all of the doctors that have come before in the actual Who universe, a lot of times they're referred to by, like, John Pertwee's doctor was the dandy.
Right, I've
and
come up
Tom
with that
Baker's
for each of
doctor
these
was the
too.
bohemian.
Right.
That's what I've done with my list.
Yeah, mine too.
So mine is my first one, my number 10, Michael Angarano, the bird with the broken wing. This doctor is, when he regenerates, he's obviously a younger man, but he's a younger man with all of the doctor's memories of the things that the doctor has seen in the past.
Well, all the doctors have that, for the most part.
But for some reason with him, the memories, for some reason this regeneration went a little weird, and the things that he seems to keep flashing back to and remembering most are the things that went wrong. The people he couldn't save. The times when being this all-powerful Time Lord didn't do jack in the face of this cold, dark, unfeeling universe. He's definitely someone who cares about people and wants to help people, but there's just something haunted behind this very young face and these very young eyes. There's just this shadow of something very tragic and dark.
Mm-hmm.
I think he'd be the kind of doctor that would definitely appeal to female fans, because they'd all be like, "Oh, I want to take care of him."
So in other words, he's the whoopee doctor.
He's a whoopee. Yeah,
Okay.
totally a whoopee.
I didn't say that, she did.
So my number 10, Michael Angarano, the bird with the broken wing.
Okay, I am going to do this a little bit differently, but similar to what you're doing. My number 10 doctor is the neurotic doctor. When you first introduce the neurotic doctor, he's going to be very studious. He has a shock of Tom Baker curly hair on the top of his head. When he gets back to his normal self, he can charm the socks off of people when he has to, but he can also be extremely cold and calculating if it needs to be. He's got a sweet smile and a very scary frown. He's always second-guessing himself and other adventures he's had in his previous lifetimes. He wears a bright purple sweater under an orange vest and occasionally a green waistcoat with dark pants, and when he needs them, half-spectacle reading glasses. And he's played by Jesse Eisenberg.
That's pretty good. That's really interesting.
I would love to see Jesse's take on the Doctor. I'm such a fan of his anyway. People tend to think, I've been over this with Eric Lyon from Cavebabble a number of times. Jesse and Michael Cera are not interchangeable.
No, they're not.
Jesse has proven himself to be hilariously funny at comedy. He can be cold and calculating. Check out his Oscar-nominated role as Mark Zuckerberg in The Social Network. He is just
or
really...
Or his turn as Lex Luthor in Batman vs. Superman.
Yeah, there's that too.
Well, there's that whole jolly aspect to him, and then the second later he's like turns on you like a rabid dog.
I just think Jesse is so underrated by
That's a
so many
really good
people. I would
choice.
love to see him do this. My number 10, the neurotic doctor, played by Jesse Eisenberg.
Okay, I like that choice. That's really good. I should also explain, maybe do a little background. Michael Angarano, for those of you who don't know him, and I can't believe anybody who doesn't know him.
If you've listened to this show for 10 plus years, you know who Michael Angarano is.
Michael has been in Sky High. He's been in the Brass Teapot.
Most recently, he was part of the Nick and is now doing a new show called, it's a new comedy series on Showtime that premieres in May.
Mm-hmm. Okay, number 9 on my list is Sebastian Roche. Sebastian is,
I don't know that name.
He's a character actor. He's been in a lot of stuff. He was the main antagonist on the short-lived Heath Ledger series Roar.
Good God, who remembers that show?
He has been on. He was an angel named Balthazar on Supernatural. He's appeared on the Vampire Diaries.
I'd know him if I saw him.
You definitely know him. He's definitely one of those. Oh, hey, it's that guy. He's the doctor that I call the pub crawling diplomat.
I love your names.
He's the doctor that his whole attitude is, there's no reason we need to fight. We can talk this over. We can figure it out without people getting killed, preferably over a nice pint of lager. Uh-huh. He has John Pertwee's dandiest aspect in the fact that it's like, well, I'll get in a fight, but please watch the shirt. And he does drink a lot. Uh-huh. But
his Gallifreyan blood probably makes it just so he doesn't get drunk. He just
that's the thing. He drinks enough that most people would be like, how is this guy standing? But then he will launch into some big, long political thing that makes absolutely perfect sense, and you're like, okay, we're going to listen to a smart guy over here.
Okay.
He's definitely elegant, but not snobbish.
Okay.
And he definitely is of the opinion there's no problem that can't be solved by people just sitting around and talking. But if a bar fight has to happen, oh well, cracks knuckles. So my number 9, Sebastian Roche, the pub-crawling diplomat doctor.
Okay. My number 9 is the doctor I'm calling the everyman/pretender doctor. Ooh. He is on the shorter side, excels at faking being whoever he's talking to wants him to be. He knows enough about everything to BS his way through whatever subject he's talking about with the person. If the person says, "Oh, what kind of doctor are you? Are you a dentist?" "Sure, I can look at your teeth." He's a pretender.
Like the pretender?
Yeah.
Okay.
He's a pretender of the best kind, though. He has longish dark hair, a little hint of a beard and mustache, which would be new for the doctor. At least for a while. Always smiling with a little twinkle in his eye, an expert eyebrow manipulator. He wears a maroon short-sleeved shirt under a white vest, carries a prism and a dog whistle in his upper vest pocket. And he has dark blue pants that don't clash with his maroon shirt, and for reasons known only to him, he wears bright green Crocs. And he's played by, psych, Michael Angarano.
Okay.
You guys know, if you've listened to us for any length of time, Michael is on my list of all-time favorite actors. He just is so underrated. People don't see enough of him. Now that he's now actually older than Matt Smith was when he started playing the Doctor. Mm-hmm. Michael will be 30 this year. Matt was 26. Michael is a brilliant actor, and I'd love to see him take an adult role and just really grab it and run with it. And I think he would have so much fun playing this role, especially if his main squeeze, Juno Temple, came along as a companion. That would be kind of fun. But he's always had this beautiful smile. And you got to be able. Tom Baker had it. John Pertwee had it. They were the two that really made a lot out of their smile of the Doctors. And I think that Michael has that same quality. And I think he would be really good playing something that most people are not used to seeing him. And like I said, only he knows why he's wearing bright green Crocs. Although I have something to think to do with the fact that they are made of plastic and rubber, which are not electricity conducting. So
Yeah, but you really can't run in them very well, and the Doctor does a lot of
I
running.
don't know, Mario Vitale does quite a bit of movement on those things.
Oh, okay.
My number 9, the Pretender Everyman Doctor, played by Michael Angarano.
Okay. My number 8 is the nice fake out, by the way. My number 8 is being played by Aaron Yu. Aaron
could be interesting.
Aaron is a definitely underrated actor whom I happen to adore. We first saw him in Nick and Nora's Infinite Playlist. He has appeared in several movies and TV shows since then,
including the abomination known as the Tomorrow People from the CW.
Yeah. He was also in the 2009 Michael Bay reboot of Friday the 13th, had an uncredited part in the reboot of A Nightmare on Elm Street. And is going to be appearing in a new movie starring Arnold Schwarzenegger called Why We're Killing Gunther. Aaron's doctor is the slightly off-kilter caffeine junkie. He is the doctor that is never without a cup of coffee. That's the first thing he says when he regenerates. Can I get some coffee, please? He is...
Obviously, if he's not British, it would have been, can I have some tea?
Well...
That's another extra American touch there.
He is never, and I mean ever, without a cup of joe with him from anywhere. He's not a coffee snob. As long as it's coffee, he'll drink it. It could be the high-end stuff. It could be stuff that you could use to start your car. He doesn't care. He'll drink it. And that might be why he never, ever stands still. Or he just might be completely and utterly hyper. There is just something about him that is constantly moving. Whether it's the leg jiggling or the hands kind of playing a piano that's not there. He's just completely always on the go and always completely gonna go over here, gonna do this, gonna do that. Ooh, what's this button do? He's definitely the type of doctor that is going to be like, I can take this apart, I can fix this, and then takes it apart. This might take a little longer, but I can still fix it. He's the type of doctor that would lean out of the TARDIS and go, psst, hey, want to go on an adventure? Yoink! And yank somebody in and drag them on a completely insane adventure, and then turn around and look at them and go, where did I pick you up? That kind of a thing. So my number 8... Aaron Yu, the slightly off-kilter caffeine junkie doctor.
I love the descriptions. I think they're great. My number 8 is the college professor doctor. Ooh. College professor doctor, he gets you when you don't see him coming. He has a very Columbo-esque way of operating. Mm-hmm. Getting you to tell him things that you probably don't really want to tell him. That whole just one more thing, thing. Mm-hmm. He dresses very casually, and as part of his demeanor, with a long gray-colored long sleeve shirt with his shirt sleeves always rolled up to the elbow. Has a fanciful bow tie of some sort on always, and a flashy wristwatch of sorts, which might be any number of devices. And he has bright pink suspenders holding up his pants, dark pants, and he's played by Greg Kinnear.
Wow. That's really interesting casting.
Oh, yeah?
I like it. No, I like it a lot.
Greg is one of these actors, again, that, he's well thought of. He's gotten an Oscar nomination or two, and he's really... Mm-hmm. I can't believe this is the guy who started on Talk Soup.
Yeah, we knew him as the host of Talk Soup on E!
He's become a favorite actor of mine well before... he was stupendous in Little Men this last year, but he was always... since he started acting, he's always been fun. And I can see this very much a Bill Nye science guy look about him, but very, very clever and manipulative about the way he gets information out of whatever he's working on. I don't know what kind of companions he would have. I could see him having youngerish college student type companions.
Okay.
I think he'd be a lot of fun, though. Number 8, the college professor doctor, played by Greg Kinnear.
Okay. Is your drink really far away from you? Oh, good.
Uh-oh. Let me take a sip.
Yeah, please take a sip now so I avoid the nose cold.
Can I do a? Oh, I can't. Okay. Anyway.
No, you don't want to get it all over the rug.
No, or the microphone. I can get it out of the rug. I can't get it out of the microphone.
Number 7 on my list was the one I was asking you. about what I was saying when we were talking about doing this list. The whole...
Yeah, this I have a feeling it's one of two people, but I don't know which one. I might be completely blown away.
Because
anyway.
we were like, when we were making up this list, we wanted to put people on it that people knew and were familiar with. Even if you're not familiar with their name, you definitely go, oh, it's that guy.
Not necessarily, because, some of the doctors have not been... Tom Baker wasn't that well known before he took over the role.
Okay.
And neither was Colin Baker.
All right. But I asked you if this was going to be okay if it was someone that was known to a more niche audience.
Yeah.
And you said yes.
Oh, God.
And I said good. My number 7 for a candidate for the Doctor is X Games athlete Travis Pastrana. Also known...
I came this close to putting Travis on my list. Okay, go ahead.
Also known as the one who makes the authorities very nervous. Travis Pastrana's Doctor, when he regenerates, comes out of the regeneration, and the first thing he says was, "Can we do that again?" He's
an adrenaline junkie, obviously, like his real self.
He dresses like an 80s rock star. Leather pants and muscle shirts and completely out there. He wants to be taken as a universal sex god kind of a thing.
You realize that at this point, we're not even halfway through these lists. Anthony is making notes of these things so he can send them to the BBC and say, you got to do this.
Travis's Doctor can be summed up in 2 words. Collateral damage. His Doctor is the type of doctor that would be like, okay, we're surrounded by Cybermen on the left and Daleks on the right. Cool. He is completely and utterly without any regard for his own life, much less anybody else's. It's not that he's bad or evil or anything like that. He's just reckless. He is completely and utterly reckless. He's also one of those, ooh, what's this button do types.
Would you stop bringing Dee Dee into this? This is terrifying me.
But he's the one that would be disappointed if when he pressed the button, something didn't blow up. So, my number 7, Travis Pastrana, the one who makes the authorities very nervous Doctor.
I have to be honest, when you told me somebody was involved with extreme sports, I thought of 2 names.
Yeah.
Travis Pastrana and Louis Vito. As like a wafy type doctor. I'm sorry, Louis, I love you, but
I thought about that. I was gonna call him the cuddly doctor, but I was like, no, you'll kill me if I do that.
My number 7 is the mischievous new hobo. Everybody remembers Patrick Troughton's kind of hobo-ish type doctor, and this doctor would be the same thing. Not a complete copy of the Troughton doctor by any means. He's short, way skinny, unlike Patrick Troughton, who is kind of plump.
Stout.
And definitely a bit addle-brained at times. Overall, though, he's cunning and clever with a bright smile when he wants one. And wears dark waistcoats with dark pants, all dark, wants to like make sure he can blend in, but he does wear this like bright-colored cravat. And it's for an actor I love that is so well known for playing such a character that is so far away from this that I'd really love to see him play fun. Vincent Kartheiser. I love Vincent. Yeah. He's a great, brilliant young actor who is unfortunately not unfortunately, it made him a star and be known as Pete from Mad Men for the next 10 years of his life. And he's gonna
get slimy douchebag roles for the next 5 years.
Exactly. He's a great actor. I've loved him since he was a teenager, and he has a definite presence. But it's a very short presence. He is only 5'6", and it's like, you gotta look at this and know, wow, what's happening with this guy? He's gonna be able to slip in and out of places nobody else could think of. And I would sure he would surround himself with companions that would be equal as well. But I just love the idea of Vincent taking on this kind of a role. Vincent Kartheiser, the mischievous new hobo, my number 7.
That's really good. I think that'd be a really interesting choice. My number 6 is a person that I would love to see play this character because I think they would do a fantastic job with it. Mm-hmm. His name is Henry Simmons.
I don't know him.
Yes, you do.
Okay.
He's been in quite a few films. His most recent film was 2014's No Good Deed. He's done more TV, though. He's best known as playing Alfonso Mack Mackenzie from the Marvel show Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Okay.
I see him as he's the healer. He's the doctor that is the type, when he regenerates, I see him being the type of doctor that would regenerate after some enormous catastrophe that not only affected the doctor, but would affect other people. And the minute that he comes out of the regeneration, he would see someone else was hurt and help them before he helps himself. He's very wise and very empathic, and definitely is not the type to put up with crap. He's the type that if he saw somebody else being abused or mistreated, he would be like, you really shouldn't be doing that, and if you don't stop, it's not going to be pleasant for you. You know, he will warn people if they're going to get their ass kicked. He's very definitely the type of, I mean, he's this, he's a very, I don't want to say large man, but he's tall.
He's tall and muscular. He's hunky.
He definitely comes off as that he'd be physically imposing, but it's his eyes that are so kind that people instantly trust him. They can tell this is someone who is so wise and has seen so much. His whole thing is that he has seen so much devastation, and he wants it to be better. He wants it to be better for wherever planet he's on. He knows he can't make it perfect, but he's going to try his damnedest to help out and help people to get on their feet and make it on their own. He's more about he's not about handouts, he's about hand-ups.
Right.
That kind of a thing. So my number 6, Henry Simmons, the doctor that is the healer.
Okay. I had trouble describing this doctor, but I'm going to do it this way. Everybody has always been, whenever the new doctor has been cast since Capaldi, the first things that pop out of people are, okay, we've never had a gender doctor. Check, coming up. We've never had a woman doctor. Check, coming up. We've never had a gay doctor. Number 6. I don't know how to describe him other than how I see the character. I can't come up with a good moniker for him. He's uptight, boastful, but truthful, has an eye for all sex and species, doesn't care whether it's man or woman, human, humanoid, or whatever. If it attracts him, he's going to let them know that. He doesn't care. It's all unisexual, I guess.
So he's a lot like Captain Jack Harkness from Torchwood.
Possibly. I don't really know. I haven't seen a lot of Torchwood. I don't really know much about the character. Like I said, I'm not that familiar with the newer stuff. He wears a white turtleneck sweater with a light tan overcoat for weather, a bicycle pin on his turtleneck. He's physical and always with an eye ahead to the next move. And he's played by French-Canadian actor Xavier Dolan. And I don't mean the Tom at the Farm Xavier Dolan. I mean the close-cut little beard, maybe the nice dark hair, the Xavier Dolan that he is when he goes to Cannes as a director. He is, because number one, I find him refreshingly funny and upfront. People call him narcissistic. I think he's, as you're always saying when I rag on Bret Hart, it's not boasting if it's true. Which is exactly how I see this doctor. I don't know how to say it. Maybe the boastful doctor, the overconfident doctor.
Yeah.
Extremely confident doctor.
The very confident doctor.
Yes, and very obviously, again, willing for everything and anything to have a little fun on the side.
The confident hedonist.
Okay. Number 6, Xavier Dolan.
Okay. My number 5 is someone that's probably going to be known more to one specific group of television watchers than others. He hasn't done a lot of films or TV, but he made a big impression on one TV show specifically. My number 5 for candidate for the doctor is Eric Milligan. Eric is probably best known for his turn as Dr. Zach Addy on the Fox series Bones. I see his doctor as the go-getter. His doctor looks much younger than he actually is. You know, he's the type of, because Eric is in his 40s and could, in my opinion, looks like he could be 25. He's the type of doctor that actually would get stopped before going into a research facility or someplace like that by guards who would be like, "Are you supposed to be here?" Kind of a thing. He is the go-getter, the always optimistic doctor, the always, well, things have got to get better because they can't get any worse type of doctor. He's also the type of doctor that will blurt out whatever is on his mind at the time. Whether or not it is appropriate, makes any sense to anybody but him, or could get him and the whole bunch of people he's with in a bunch of trouble. He's the type that if he and his companions were confronted by one of these, to use a Klingon term, swaggering, tin-plated, blah, 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 with delusions of godhood from the Trouble with Tribbles episode. You know what I mean? The type of person that makes themselves in charge of a small country that has 85 medals on their chest and the epaulets and the whole kind of look. He's the type of person that would look at them and go, "Wow, your shoulders are shiny." He just says what's ever on his mind.
So the no-filter doctor.
Yeah.
Okay.
But he's definitely a go-getter. He's definitely always of the opinion that, come on, we can do it. If we all band together and try our best, we can make it. It's always darkest before the dawn type of a guy. Which I do think sometimes makes some of the companions that he's with wonder if he is not completely insane. Which I think has actually been brought up to him at some point. I haven't heard him insane yet. Yeah. Somebody has... I could actually see someone saying to his doctor, "Are you crazy?" And him looking at them and saying, "Is that a trick question?" So, my number 5, Eric Milligan, the go-getter doctor.
My number 5 is the debonair doctor. Been a while since we've had real, like, dandy-style John Pertwee class. And, I mean, David Tennant and Nat Smith had their own little things, but so does Capaldi. But this doctor is a little bit different. He's cultured and well-mannered. He always uses master, miss, mister, or madam when he's addressing people. Never just too friendly, except for the companions. Has a monocle in his pocket that acts like a microscope. Which is always a good toy to have. Of course, and we can assume all of these doctors have the standard sonic screwdriver also. Yep. He wears an immaculate white suit with vest and pants all white, with a clashing colorful tie, and an always changing color tinted carnation in his buttonhole, and played by the always awesome Bruce Greenwood.
Ooh, that's really nice. I like that.
I have loved Bruce Greenwood for 30 plus years. The man is one of the best character actors on the planet. And sometimes he steps into roles that I don't really think he's right for. Occasionally he'll play something and I'll be like, that's a little off. But Captain Pike, he was awesome in Star Trek. He was awesome. And I thought he did a great JFK in 13 Days, although he doesn't look like him. No. But he did a good job. And everything else practically I've seen him in except for a couple things. And I just think he is just one of the most I don't know if you'd say underappreciated, because people who work with him have had nothing but wonderful things to say about him. And I remember he started on this horrible television series called Legmen back in the 1980s. It was on right after The Powers of Matthew Starr, and it sucked. And it was the same stuff over and over again. And I've been a fan since, though, and I always will be. And I'd love to see what he would do with a character like a debonair doctor, Bruce Greenwood, number 5 on my list.
My number 4 candidate for the doctor, people might hear my description and think, oh, he's just playing the same part that he played before. But I don't agree. I don't see him that way. My number 4 choice is William Peterson. And his doctor is the intellectual you don't want to mess with. People might assume this is just another
The CSI doctor.
like another Gil Grissom type of character. I don't see him that way at all. He's definitely the type of character that if he's given a mystery or a puzzle, he will be the first one to try and solve it, but only if it's a puzzle that would affect the situation. If it's just something to show off, ooh, how smart I can be, he's not interested. He doesn't solve things to get praise. He solves things to get things done. And he is also, like I said, he's very intelligent and he's very patient. I see him as being very patient with people who are in shock, who have been through a traumatic experience, like a Cybermen attack or something like that.
Okay.
He's definitely the type that would sit down with somebody and be like, if they said this is crazy, he'd be like, yes, it is. This isn't what you're used to dealing with, but we'll get through it and I'll help you. He's also the type that if somebody was giving him enough crap, he would grab them by the throat, slam them up against a wall, and be like, stop pissing around. He is definitely the type that older women would be throwing themselves at him. And he's not above stealing the odd kiss or two. But his attitude is he has a purpose. His purpose is to try and he views his existence as being the one of the few things out there between chaos and the rest of the universe.
Uh-huh.
And he takes that responsibility very, very seriously. So my number 4, William Peterson, the intellectual you don't want to mess with.
So it's kind of like a
doctor.
Tom Baker crossed with Peter Davison, actually.
Kind of.
Yeah. Okay. My number 4 is when you're watching the regeneration and the doctor is laying there flat on his back from whatever happened, and suddenly his chest gets bigger by a few sizes. And a few other things start to happen. And we get our first Rye woman doctor. Everybody's been clamoring for a woman doctor. And I have to admit, I've been through a lot of people. There are a few women I think could really have fun with this role. Mm-hmm. But this one, if you're casting an American or if somebody other than the UK, because my top choices would be Tilda Swinton and Helen Mirren in that order, this woman would be fun. She is no nonsense, but able to have fun with a brilliant, sarcastic sense of humor. Caustic, along the lines of maybe a Murphy Brown or a Linda Ellerby type with that kind of sense of humor. And she's very partial to red. She wears a pink frilly shirt with a red vest, red pants, and red knee-high boots, big-heeled knee-high boots. And never leaves the TARDIS without checking to make sure her perfect red lipstick is on just right. And she is played by the always wonderful Kat Dennings.
Oh, wow.
I basically see Nora as the Doctor, with a little bit more sense of humor and a little bit of her sense of humor from the Thor movies.
And a little more self-confidence.
Yes.
Nora's not as self-confident.
No, and neither is what's her name in the Thor movies.
Darcy.
Yeah.
Darcy's more confidence. I mean, she tased a Norse god for crying out loud.
Well, true. Yeah. But I can just see her not putting up with anybody and just, oh, of course, whatever you say, wink, wink, are we not going to do this? And just,
And blithely going off and doing her own thing.
And I love her anyway, and I get so... I realize she's got herself probably a set... she's invested well. She's probably set for life after 5 or 6 seasons of Two Broke Girls, but she was doing so well on the big screen, and then she jumped to TV into a dumb sitcom, and I'd rather see her do something more to her talents, because she's just a brilliant actress, and I love to see her in all different parts of roles. And this would be great. The Rye first woman doctor, played by Kat Dennings, number 4.
Okay. It's funny that it turns out that way, because my next doctor is a female as well.
Ah, hey.
My next doctor is the type of doctor that I see after he regenerates into she, that, that she's kind of waking up and slowly getting her bearings and being like, Oh, goodness. Well, that's a whole new wardrobe coming up. My number 3 is Kathy Bates.
Oh, dear God.
Who's
Don't let her have a sledgehammer.
Whose doctor I have termed the Mother Bear. She is the doctor that is the type of lady that is of the opinion that wherever she winds up, well, I must be here for a reason, so let's find out what it is. Mm-hmm. She is the type of person that cannot abide the idea of children in danger or suffering or in pain or anything like that. And she's very much the type that will very casually walk up to somebody who was being cruel to a child and be like, I think you need to stop that. And if they raised a hand to her, she would be able to reach up, grab their wrist, and completely snap their arm.
Well, the doctor does know Venusian Aikido, don't forget.
Yeah.
Way back with John Pertwee's
day.
Yeah,
the Venusian Aikido would definitely become in the forefront. And while she's snapping their arm, she's lecturing them. This is why we don't hurt people smaller than us, and we don't act like bullies. Toss. And then she'd turn to the person and be like, "Where's your mom, sweetheart?" People think of her as kind of this harmless individual. She's not, by any stretch of the imagination. She is the type that if she got in that situation, she would be like, "I am the doctor, and you will listen to me, because if you don't, we're all going to die." Kind of a
right.
thing. And say it with this completely earnest face that would even make the hardest 5-star general go, "Okay, we're going to listen to the lady in the funny hat." Because I do think that's one thing that she likes. She's definitely got an affinity for hats.
Oh, God, not Hyacinth again.
No, her whole thing is that she just can't, she burns very easily. She gets sunburned very easily.
She wears floppy hats?
Yep.
Oh, my God.
She wears floppy hats. Large floppy hats. Preferably usually with flowers or cherries on them.
Oh, boy.
But she's definitely intelligent, she doesn't suffer fools gladly or idiots at all. She's very nurturing. She's definitely the type of doctor that would, again, kind of like William Peterson's doctor, somebody who would be sitting there in shock. She would be the first person to run off and get them like a cup of tea or something that would settle them down or something like that. Lay a shock blanket over them or something to that effect. And do it out of a real sense of concern. It's not fake. It's not done out of any ulterior motive. It's actually done out of just sheer tenderness and good-heartedness. Mm-hmm. So my number 3, Kathy Bates, the Mother Bear Doctor.
I would pay to see Kathy Bates play this character. That would be fun as hell. My number 3 is our Continental Doctor. He is right out of a Jane Austen novel. The type of dude...
Puffy shirts and everything?
Yeah, puffy, white shirt, open-collared, dark tweed jacket, unused pipe sticking out of his jacket pocket. Mm-hmm. Very exotic French Arabic-sounding accent. A little hint of a beard, maybe, or a mustache. And hair, however he likes, usually kept fairly close cropped, but never terribly long if he wants to run it out a little bit. He wears, in addition to the clothes, he also always has a pocket watch at his ready, and white pants because he thinks they go well. And he's played by French Arabic actor Amir Wakid. I don't know if you know him or not. He was the main cop in the Luc Besson film Lucy.
Oh.
And I love him. He's also been in Salmon Fishing in the Yemen and a whole bunch of other stuff. He's a brilliant character actor. I love him in everything I've ever seen him in. And I love his exotic looks. Now, the problem with him right now is I didn't realize he was only 5'7". He's very short. Mm. So I see, it doesn't seem that short, but then again, when you're up against Scarlett Johansson, everybody seems tall because she's like 5'3", isn't she? She's really tiny. And I might be wrong about that. I don't know how tall she is for sure, but I love his accent. He speaks English well. He obviously speaks French and Arabic and a number of other languages from what I've seen in all these different films he's done. And he just is one of these people that could easily charm the ladies and also, not be afraid to challenge somebody to a duel.
Mm-hmm.
Right, like I said, out of a Jane Austen novel or a Charlotte Bronte novel, one of these very old, very continental types. The Continental Doctor, played by Amir Waked.
Okay. It's really funny how we're vibing and not vibing at the same time.
We are, sort of. I don't think you're going to vibe in on either of my top two.
Because my next candidate for the Doctor is definitely of the continent type as well.
Okay.
My number 2 choice for a non-British Doctor is French actor Jean Dujardin.
So I was right. You were looking at him when you said French.
Best known in America for his turn in the fantastic 2011 film The Artist. He also appeared in The Wolf of Wall Street, The Monuments Men, and several French films as well.
The spy things don't look as funny as everybody says they are, though. We haven't seen them. So.
He is the Doctor that I refer to as the romantic rogue.
Yeah, I can see that.
He's the Doctor that is attracted to beauty. And not only beauty in the traditional sense of a beautiful woman, or beautiful cars, or beautiful artwork, although he'll be the first to admit he likes stuff like that. He is a Doctor that appreciates the finer things in life. Mm-hmm. But he's also the Doctor that would sit and be entranced by a beautiful sunset, or a garden that was beautifully, either beautifully maintained or run wild but full of gorgeous flowers and things like that. He cannot abide the idea of beauty being destroyed. And in his opinion, the greatest beauty there is freedom.
Okay.
It's the idea that nobody should suffer under the yoke of someone who's grinding out people's freedoms under the heel of a boot or something like that.
Okay.
He is the type of Doctor that I would definitely see. Now, not all of these Doctors would I see having tangles with some of the Doctor's, arch enemies and stuff like that. But I could definitely see him having a real contentious and violently passionate hatred for his version of the Master, played by whomever I hadn't cast it. Because his version of the Master is all about destruction and violence and all this stuff like that. And he can't stand that. He can't stand that this other being wants to bring about ruin and despair and horror when he's all about the things. I mean, he's not like in the clouds. He doesn't, he knows that there are harsh times and things like that. But he's of the opinion that life is meant to be lived, and life's meant to be lived surrounded by people you care about and surrounded by good food, good times, and, having a good time. He is the one Doctor out of all my Doctors. He is the Doctor that smokes. He does smoke cigarettes, what look like cigarettes, which he carries in a very fancy Dan silver cigarette case, which is also his sonic screwdriver.
Okay.
Always dressed to perfection. He's also the type of Doctor that would be running down the street, running for his life, and then back up because he saw a beautiful woman. Hello. That kind of a thing. He's just that. He can't help himself.
Right.
My number 2, Jean Dujardin, the romantic rogue Doctor.
Okay, I like that. That's different. My number 2 is as different as anything you could ever get for a Doctor.
Okay.
Picture this, if you will. His companions are there watching this happen, and however Capaldi gets injured or whatever, and he starts to regenerate, saying crazy things start happening in the TARDIS. And the regeneration doesn't stop. It just keeps going and going and going. And they're looking at this guy, and he's getting younger and younger and younger until when you till it finally stops after way longer period of time, the older Capaldi has morphed into a 15-year-old kid. And you end up with the teen whiz kid Doctor. This doctor has all of the knowledge of his previous companions and his previous lives. He's 700, I think 450? Is that what they always said? Years old. Is probably older than that now.
By now, he'd be much older than that.
Yeah. I mean, who would suspect a kid when you're trying to get into, like, blow up the Daleks or, screw around with the Cybermen? It's a kid. He's just a kid, schoolboy. He's not really going to do anything. So he decides, I'm going to play it up for all it's worth. Pops on a fancy fedora, wears his little glass empty Harry Potter glasses when he wants to give some effective intelligence. But it doesn't always wear them. Nice little haircut, pale blue shirt with a light vest decorated with clouds or some other science motif or phenomenon. Dark brown trousers, except he has short pants at the ready if they should show up in Japan. And always fingerless gloves, his Wacko Warner-like Gaddy backpack, and lightweight headphones always around his neck, and he's played by the always amazing Theo Taplitz.
Okay.
I would die to see Theo jump into this kind of a role. Mainly because nobody's ever thought of a young doctor. The youngest doctor we've got was Matt Smith at 26.
Yeah.
And it'd be interesting.
Before that, it was Peter Davidson.
Peter Davidson was 30. And it'd be interesting to see what they would do if the doctor did regenerate into somebody that could pass for a teenager. You could slip into things that you couldn't do.
That would be really interesting because, you wind up with a doctor who it would be a double-edged
Isn't old
sword.
enough to go into a pub.
Yes, that's where I'm going. That's where I'm going.
That's where you get his very loyal and helpful companions. It's almost like a Remington Steele kind of thing, where he's doing the work, they're taking the credit. Nobody realizes it's really the kid in the empty spectacles that's actually the brains of the operation.
I'm not surprised. I have to be honest, I'm not.
My number 2, the teenage whiz kid doctor, played by Little Men's brilliant Theo Taplitz.
Okay. My number 1, you actually already know. You do, because I mentioned him before. Okay. When we were talking about doing this list.
Okay.
My number 1 person that I would like to see play the doctor is Misha Collins.
Oh, yes, of course. Yeah, you know my number 1, too. I mentioned him, too. But
okay.
Anyway.
Misha Collins is a well-known television actor. He's been in
He's Castiel on Supernatural.
Need
you say more?
He's played the angel Castiel on Supernatural, along with playing a bunch of other different parts on Supernatural. And he's appeared in other shows like Charmed, CSI, Monk, lots of different things. Making an appearance this coming week, actually, on Timeless on NBC as Elliot Ness, which I think is pretty cool. Misha's doctor...
Interesting casting. Okay.
Misha's doctor is the Crusader. He is... he's basically Batman without the costume. He is the type of doctor that is comfortable with the idea of fighting evil. His whole thing is that evil comes in so many forms, and whatever form it's in, if evil, if you're up against evil, you have to fight it. It's your responsibility to fight evil. Whether or not evil is some alien from outer space, or it's, someone involved in human trafficking or something like that. It doesn't matter. Mm-hmm. If there's something wrong, his doctor is the doctor who is going to be like, no. His doctor... Actually, I compared him to Batman. That's actually not accurate. I think his doctor is actually more comparable to Captain America. His doctor is of the opinion that if what you believe in is right and everybody else says, it's wrong, but in your heart that it's right, if it's some law that's been passed by the government or something like that, and everybody else says you have to move, his doctor is the one that would be like, stand your feet like a tree and say, no, you move.
Right.
He is... One definite thing about his doctor, no trench coats. No trench coats, no suits, nothing like that. His doctor is definitely a very casual, he wears button-down shirts and jeans and stuff like that. He looks like he looks like your average guy that would be, a parent or something like that. His doctor also is like Michael Angarano's doctor. He has, I think, unfortunately, something went wrong with his regeneration where he also has flashbacks. And his flashbacks always seem to be, again, of people that he's lost. Specifically companions that he's lost. Specifically ones where something bad happened to them, like Adric or something like that. And his, his whole thing of that he's not going to lose somebody again.
Right.
He's not going to lose them again. Companions to him are more than companions. They're friends. And they're people that he would lay down his many lives to protect.
Okay.
So my number one, Misha Collins, the Crusader. The Crusading Doctor.
I like that. That's good.
Thanks.
My number one, I actually brought this up on a post board earlier this week, and I think if they ever did go out of America, this guy would be perfect to do the role. When Capaldi regenerates, you imagine seeing him laying there, and suddenly you see this wild mane, lion's mane of red hair show up, and he's laying there stock still, and then suddenly his arm pops up in the rock and roll, the horns gesture, shaking, and his head comes up and it starts bobbing. And you've got your 1980s style ginger rock and roll doctor. He's manic and crazy, but he's tempered with a lot of sweetness and charm. His smile will light up the room. He's curious about everything. He's got several layers of dark shirts on, with a long sleeve shirt over a tee, with purple tinted John Lennon glasses, which never leave his, at the worst, they're down over his nose. Dangling little earring, long leather vest over the shirts, and electric guitar pen on his vest. Carries guitar picks in his pocket that he doubles as weapons of some sort. If he was allowed to, I don't know how British TV is there, he'd probably be chain-smoking Marlboros, just because I know how he is, the manic character. And he's always got rock music playing in the TARDIS control room of the classical variety, according to Star Trek movies. Stuff like the Beastie Boys and AC/DC and stuff like that. And he's always on the move. I guess the best way to put it would to think of him as a doctor version of Beavis or Butthead, and he's played by Caleb Landry Jones.
I had a feeling. That would be fun as hell. That would be fun as... Yeah, but he's not, like, mean-spirited like Beavis and
No,
Butthead.
he's sweet and innocent, and he's a rocker.
He's the headbanger's ball doctor.
Yes, yeah. Basically. Caleb is just one of the most versatile actors I've ever seen. You can see him play this sweet and innocent type in one role, and in the next role he's like this heroin-addicted, strung-out drug addict. He plays a transvestite in another movie, and the man is like crazy with the type of roles that he does. And we've never had a doctor with red hair and freckles before. Caleb has lots of freckles, and that was one of the
girls would go mental.
That was the whole thing with when he first played Banshee in X-Men First Class, which is where we really got a good look at him for the first time. He was like, where else is a kid from Texas with red hair and freckles going to get to play a superhero than in an X-Men movie? I'm like, yeah, no kidding. Unfortunately, they killed him off screen.
Yeah.
But I've been a huge fan of his ever since that movie, and I just can't believe the way he continues to change from part to part, and the roles that they're so diverse. You never see him play the same character twice. He's next going to be seen in 3 Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri, which is coming out later this year. He is also a featured player on the new version of Twin Peaks, which premieres later this month or next month, I forget when, on Showtime. And it's not a big part. And despite what everybody said at the time, he is in Tom at the Farm, but you never get to see him really. It's just a very tiny. He plays Guillaume, the late lover of Tom.
He's the reason.
And I still think he's also the guy at the end of the movie, but they won't confirm that.
He's the reason the whole movie happens.
Yeah. I adore Caleb. He's a brilliant. And why rocker? Because he is a rocker. He has a band. Well, he did until a couple years ago. Had a band called Robert Jones, and he's a really great singer and drummer and really an amazing musician. And he really does, from what I understand, go through about 3 packs of cigarettes a day, just constantly. I'm like, okay, so it's like, okay, let's put all this together and roll him together with that beautiful hair he has and put the doctor's mantle on him. So the rock and roll ginger doctor, Caleb Landry Jones, my number
really
one
great.
choice.
Okay, that's awesome.
So we only matched on one person, which is really interesting.
Did. I also have a couple of people that I'd like to bring up as companions.
Okay, sure.
Real quick. One person I would love to see as a companion is WWE superstar Dean Ambrose. He's the companion.
Oh, I can't wait to hear this one.
No, he's the type of companion that you turn your back for a second and there's an enormous crash and you turn around and something's broken and he's like, it was like that.
And which doctor would you put him with?
I would actually put him with the, possibly with the Michael Angarano doctor because he would need someone to be the muscle for him because he's not exactly.
I could see him going with either Caleb or Theo.
Yeah.
In that kind of thing, yeah.
Also on my list was Michael Cera as a companion. I think would be interesting. I would match him up with either William Peterson's doctor or Kathy Bates' doctor.
Yeah.
I think that he would be. Well, I think as
not for my doctor.
As William. Well, I'm not talking about your.
I know.
choices.
I'm just saying. I'm just saying because I'm not trying to disparage.
No,
him.
I know. With William Peterson's doctor, he would be like the student following around the teacher, and with Kathy Bates' doctor, he would be kind of the. He would be the person that would be like, did she really just break that guy's? Okay, you know what? I'm going to go with her now. Kind of following behind her in awe of the fact that she's just awesome. Also on my list, simply as a companion, because I think she'd be fun as hell, singer Katy Perry. She's the type of companion that definitely is not. I could totally see her with the Travis Pastrana doctor, because she could cause as much collateral damage as him. She is definitely not the what do we do now doctor type of companion. She's more the type of companion that would clock a bad guy in the head with a fire extinguisher.
She's Abby.
Yeah, huh?
She's Abby.
Yeah. And
she'd be good with Greg Kinnear's character on my list, I think.
And finally on my list of people for companions, I think Evan Peters would make a really dynamite companion.
Yeah, Evan's good at everything. He could probably do something good.
I think he would be really good with Henry Simmons' doctor. The doctor that I mentioned is kind of the healer. Mm-hmm. He's the one that's always his doctor is like his companion would be kind of more cynical and sour, and it's Henry's doctor would be the doctor that would be like, there is good in people. I think that Evan's companion would be someone who'd been through a really hard life, and Henry's doctor would be the type of doctor that would be the type that would try and make him realize that there are good people out there and there are things to fight for, kind of a thing.
Okay.
So
those are good.
All right. So do we want to go through our list?
Sure, go right ahead.
Okay. My list of actors that should play the Doctor if you're not going for a British actor, going from 10 to 1. Number 10, Michael Angarano. Number 9, Sebastian Roche. Number 8, Aaron Yu. Number 7, Travis Pastrana. Number 6, Henry Simmons. Number 5, Eric Milligan. Number 4, William Peterson. Number 3, Kathy Bates. Number 2, Jean Dujardin. And number 1, Misha Collins.
And my top 10 non-UK actors to play the Doctor next are number 10, Jesse Eisenberg, the neurotic doctor. Number 9, Michael Angarano, the pretender doctor. Number 8, Greg Kinnear, the college professor doctor. Number 7, Vincent Kartheiser, the new hobo doctor. Number 6, Xavier Dolan, the boastful
hedonist.
Boastful hedonist doctor. Number 5, Bruce Greenwood, the debonair doctor. Number 4, Kat Dennings, the wry first woman doctor. Number 3, Amir Waked, the continental doctor. Number 2, Theo Taplitz, the teen whiz kid doctor. And number 1, Caleb Landry Jones, the ginger rock and roll doctor.
That's really great. I think that's a fantastic list.
Yes, yours is quite good too, and I would pay to see Kathy Bates play that. That would be fun.
I just think that would be a complete blast. I think that would be so much fun.
I love Kathy anyway. Mm-hmm. So, we'd love to hear what your real comments are on this and everything else. Please write to us at front row at PNRNetworks.com and send us your suggestions for lists, what you think of the lists we do. And if you got a suggestion, we use it on the air, we'll put it up on the website and send you a prize.
Definitely.
What is your choice of lists for next week?
Okay, my choice of lists for next week. This one might be a little difficult.
Oh, God, another one. Okay.
But I think that it will be fun for us to try. My choice of lists for next week are our top 5. It's going to be
5 and 5.
5 and 5. Top 5 James Bond villains or henchmen. That's 1. And top 5 Bond girls.
Ooh, okay.
Okay.
That'll be good. That will be hard. There's so many good ones out there to choose from. Oh. And you're talking the entire run of the films.
The entire spectrum.
Are we including the non-official films like Never Say Never Again and those too?
Yeah, if you want to.
Okay.
That's fine.
Just checking.
So we're looking at...
Woo,
so
5
we're going
and
to
5.
have...
That's going to be hard.
We're going to have a list of, our top favorite baddies or the people that are right next to the baddies and the top 5 best Bond girls.
That sounds like fun.
Okay.
Next, before we go any further, we want to remind you we've got lots of stuff out here every week on our various PNRNetworks sites. Starting with our full-length shows. Kim's show, Platinum Rose's Garden, every Saturday evening, looks at the wonderful world of the Winchesters from Supernatural.
I do an episode review and also talk about the episode and any Supernatural news that's going on. This week I am looking at the episode regarding Dean, which just aired last week, and I hope you guys will come and check out my show at PlatinumRosesGarden.com.
Not safe for work.
No, definitely not safe for work. I swear like a trucker.
And check out my show, Catastrophe Vortex, where we look at disaster movies and the people who love them, like me, and also real-life disasters, songs about disasters, everything disaster, right here on Catastrophe Vortex. That's Wednesdays at catastrophevortex.com. Also, our mini shows each week. Tuesday, Digidex, with all the latest new releases on DVD, Blu-ray, on-demand streaming, Netflix, Prime, Amazon Prime, and Netflix. Tuesdays at 10 a.m. Eastern. And 3-Minute Weekend, Fridays at 10 a.m. Eastern, with all the new films hitting U.S. theaters that weekend.
And, of course, there's the one that started it all. There's Subject Cinema, our movie podcast, where we have movie reviews and movie news and all kinds of fun stuff like that. It's our cornerstone show. We definitely hope you'll come and check it out over at subjectcinema.com. And we have other friends.
Every Sunday it's after 7 p.m.
Yep. And we have other friends out there that have podcasts as well. Those would include the Lion family, Eric and Valerie and their kids and grandkids and mailmen and Avon ladies and whoever else they can get to come on the show. That's over at Cavebabble, where they talk about movies and music and TV and games, and Cavebabble eats odd things. They're really fun folks, and we hope you'll check them out over at cavebabble.com.
And don't forget to check out the websites every week, eCinemaOne.com, eCinemaBoston.com, which should be back online but isn't. And I'm sorry, it is going to be up this week. And all of our other associated sites, you can click on them on the websites everywhere. And don't forget, we are currently running a Patreon campaign, not very successfully, unfortunately, a Patreon campaign, trying to get some funds in to help us get some new equipment. We've been doing this for over 10 years, and we haven't replaced our equipment, most of our equipment, for about 7 years or somewhere in there, since it blew out a few years ago. And I really got my eye on a new mixing board, a new computer, a few new things to really help jazz up the show and make it better for everybody. And I hope that you will continue to listen and know that we're always going to be improving the shows and what we do. And your generous monthly recurring support will help us fund that, our trips and maybe even sponsorships to some film festivals and a lot more. Also, we can become an even bigger and better show for our listeners because we know you guys love that. So please take the time to donate with us. We really appreciate it. It's at patreon.com/PNRNetworks, or just click the gigantic orange Patreon button on every PNR Networks website and it'll take you right there.
Okay.
What else we got? Anything?
I think that'll do it.
I want to apologize for missing Subject Cinema again. It'll be back this week, and this weekend we'll have a special show. No, it's 2 weeks. Oscar's still another week away. And we'll have lots of great stuff coming up this week, and I'm sure. But until then,
this is Kim Brown.
I'm TC Kirkham.
And we hope you'll come back next week to help us count up our list here on Front Row 5 and 10.
Bye.
Bye.
You've You've been listening to Front Row 5 and 10 with Kim Brown and T.C. Kirkham.
Podcasting's choice. From coast to coast, continent to continent, right here 24/7.
PNR.